thinks is our best option. So we're going to continue to work on the bees on the building and get the soffit sealed up. We do know that there is another place on the back of 207 where in the past some wasps have gotten in, and that is on the list to be sealed up as well. So as you know, just in the way of reporting, we several months back enlisted the assistance of an attorney. Alexis Altman is her name, and she is helping us to communicate more clearly with our insurance company. She hired a structural engineer to come and do a forensics engineering report. It took him 3 days to do that report on 3 visits on the site. And the report just came back to us, the board, just at the end of last week. It's 265 pages long and has many charts, many references, many photos. And so the plan, as we have been advised from Alexis, is that she is going to be gathering depositions, and then she's going to put together a plan as to how best to try to win over the findings of the American Coastal Insurance Company. So right now, that's where we're at. And as soon as we're done with all of that, that report will be made public and it will be on the portal. I will tell you, however, though, that it's 265 pages long. And although as individuals, we were able to download it as a PDF to our own computers, we had to have a link in order to get to it. So we're going to have to work out the details on how that's going to work when we try to post it to the portal. I'm not real sure. So, but that's a futuristic situation. So for right now, I think the roofs are holding. We think that Dee and I were talking on the phone. We think we've gotten some good sized Band-Aids on them, and the roofs are holding at the moment. So no one has reported any new areas of water intrusion coming in through the roof. So, so we can be thankful for that. I think that's, as far as the president's report, that's really all that I have that isn't already an agenda item. Scott, do you want to move forward with the treasurer report?
Sure. So just a couple of things. Everybody in our community received a letter from one of our owners a few weeks ago questioning some of the financials in Grandview, and I just want to speak to that just for a second. I do want everyone to know, and everybody on here probably already knows, that yes, we do have a professional management company with your own accounting office that handles our finances for us. They're very, very thorough, very complete. I have spoken to them. One of the other major concerns was why we paid the $4,200 in taxes this year. It was as high as it's been in many, many years. After a discussion with Deanna over in the accounting department at Alliant, basically we are paying taxes on any interest that we earn as a community. And so it was also mentioned in that letter that the accountant, the CPA, tried to distance himself. That is absolutely not true. What happened was the Alliant Accounting Department sent the information to the CPA to prepare our taxes. And so he wasn't distancing himself at all. He was just taking the information that he received from Alliant. So I just wanted to make that clear. So then moving on to our financial report. So I gave you guys a very detailed financial report at the end of March at our April meeting, because I received the details from Alliant on April the 4th. So I was able to put that report together. As of today, which is May 13th, I have not received all the detailed financials from Alliant yet. And I've gone back and looked at history. Sometimes I do it the first week of the month. Sometimes I do it the second going into the third week of the following month. So I need to have more of a thorough discussion with Alliant to see if we can't get the information sooner so I can put a complete report to the community together every month. So with that being said, anybody that wants to look at our detailed financial report through the end of March, March 31st, if you get on Vantica and if you go to where you see documents, open up documents, go to homeowner financials, and there you will see a detailed report in there through March 31st. Unfortunately, I don't have the report through April yet because I have not received it. So with that being said, I do have our balance sheet as of 4:30, and I'll briefly go over it. And then if you have any questions at the end, you can ask me at the end. But as far as our current assets, we currently have total cash of 100 in operating of 184,508.17. Our reserves are 559,718.22. Total is 744,226.39. And then if you look at accounts receivable and other assets, our total operating assets currently are 289,134.79. Our reserves are 559,718.22 for a total of 848,853.01. Total liabilities operating are 51,097.19. And reserves are 559,718.22. And then long-term liabilities, 8,726.56 in reserve. And then reserve, there's not any. So basically, total liabilities then are operating are 289,134.79, reserve 559,718.22, and then it matches our assets at 848,853.01. So that's my treasurer's report today because I don't have any of the other details currently.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
I put on the agenda this time, which is something new. I asked for Norma to give a report. She kind of has been doing some work in the background, so I wanted her to tell us what she's been up to. She's a secretary.
So the board has put together what's called a Grandview roster list. And what that is a spreadsheet of all the homeowners, their unit numbers, their email addresses, people that they're renting to, leasing to, and what their start and expiration dates are. So when I got a hold of it, the last time it had been updated was March of 2024. So what I've been doing is going back and forth checking the portal along with the Grandview roster list to make sure that everything coincided. There were a few discrepancies that I had to update. So I worked with Alicia as far as updating any expired leases or renters. The reason I need this list to be current is because I don't have access to the Alliant portal. So if I want to send out any emails to you, any reminders or updates, I have to get it from the emails that are listed on the roster that I get from the portal. It all has to be done manually. So having said that, what I'd like to say before I go on about this list is it's really important that you guys get onto the portal and update. Maybe your emails have changed or maybe your home addresses have changed to keep up to date with renewing your leases or your renters. I mean, because we want to know who's living in our community at the time. And if you have a problem getting on the portal, please reach out to me. Somebody's home. Please reach out to me. I can talk you through it over Facebook, or I can talk to you on the phone. We can FaceTime. I'm more than happy to spend time helping you get onto the portal. But it's important that you update, the portal every once in a while to make sure that everything is current. And that's about it. That's what I've been working for. That was a little time consuming, but that's it for me.
Thank you, Norma. We do appreciate having a list that that we own, Alliant will push out anything that we ask them to. But I think it's good, we have found there were some discrepancies in our leases, and so it caused us to sharpen our game a little bit. So appreciate the work that's been done there. Next on the agenda is D, with the Vice President's report. What have you got to share with us, Dee?
Okay, the only real thing is I did get in touch with the insurance company to see what the climate was for the coming year for insurance. And looks like there's no significant increases. In fact, there may be some decreases. But as it's looking right now, we're going to stay at about the same dollar amount that we are right now for this year. So that's a good thing.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Good.
you're looking for something.
No,
Oh, okay.
go ahead.
No, we had talked maybe about the irrigation, updating the irrigation, the pump and the system and all that kind of stuff. I don't have any particulars on it, but it's in the pipeline. Of course, if we wanted to tie in with the new summit thing, which I'm sure Scott will go into detail, then we have to wait until the beginning of next year for that to happen. So,
Okay. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Yes, our irrigation is an ongoing concern. How's that
yeah.
for a way to put it? And so we have some ideas about how we're going to do that until we're ready to be definitive about that. We'll present that to you as soon as we do. But yes, thank you very much for that. Daryl, do you want to speak to the latest committee?
Sure. We are working with the document revision. Cheryl and I had a lengthy phone conversation with the attorneys prior to the committee coming together and kicking off, mainly to get clarity on what their position is and what they provide for us as far as document revision. The attorneys ultimately will do all the detective work needed on our current documents. They get into the weeds on everything. They have a template that they use that is up to date with all the current statutes and what is relative and current. And so they'll do all that updating. The committee, in essence, does not have to go through, whether it be on Vantica or in our hard books, line by line. Our responsibility, the committee members, by the way, there are 6 of us, Harv Sturgis, Diane Berg, Mary Hatley, myself, Deborah Burkhart, and Pam Nance. The 6 of us, what we will be responsible for is reviewing the documents and listing identified issues that we would make recommendation to the board for change. As the recommendations come forward, identified rationale for the recommendations will go forward with them. So it's not just willy-nilly, oh yeah, we want to change this. Well, no, what is in the betterment of the 88 owners in the community and for the community at large. So once the recommendations go forward, then it's up to the board to ferret through that and work with the attorneys and move forward. So our plan is we have already identified things before we've really even gotten into the documents. And I'm waiting for a list from the board of things that they've already identified. And once that happens, we'll have a schedule and work through over the summer via Zoom. We'll identify section by section and all work together. And then as the chairperson, what I'll do is put a list together of what our identified concerns are with the rationale and forward that within 5 days of our meeting to the board. And that's how we'll work through it. We have a pretty lofty goal. We'd like to get done by the end of the year. If it happens, that would be fabulous. We're going to state a task and we'll see where it lands. The attorneys feel that that's pretty reasonable, that we should be able to do that if we state a task. So we'll see. any questions, concerns, people can email me or any one of the committee members, and just let us know if you have any concerns.
I did note just now that Leslie expressed that she thinks that it's important for owners to have input. And so I will just put that out there that if you want to email, if you want to send it to the Gmail account, we can forward that on to the committee. But once the work gets going and is coming to a close, there's going to be multiple opportunities for people to read these in advance and to comment on any kind of concerns that they have. So it's not going to be a surprise, oh, here it is on the ballot, because there's too much work to go into it for us to not communicate it clearly. So it's going to be very well communicated. You may get tired of hearing about it, and I hope that that's the case.
Well, and
So,
just for clarity for people that they have an understanding, our CCRs and our bylaws all have to go to community vote.
yes.
So yeah, it's not something that just an individual does or a committee does or even the board does. It's a vote. It's a community vote.
Right. But we are going to want everybody to be very much in the know before the day of the vote.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that, opportunities to ask questions, to have a better
Sure.
understanding are there. So, anything else, Daryl?
No, we're ready to roll as soon as we
Okay.
get that
And-
list. So,
Okay, we have the list. We wrapped it up yesterday. So
okay,
I'll be
good.
pushing that out to you today.
Perfect.
Yeah, very good. Unfinished business, we have, it's listed on here, flood insurance, and that, I think that might be a little misleading. So what I wanted to do was just review the flood zone LOMA report. So at our last meeting, we discussed the LOMA report. We discussed who did it and why we thought that it was important for us to do it. And what it is it's a company of professional map readers who have gone in, they look at our elevations and they evaluate them up against the FEMA maps that were updated in 2022. And then they provide a report and they push that report to FEMA, essentially asking for an exemption from the map. So we went through that process. We approved it at the last meeting, and that report did come back. And we indeed, Grandview of Parker Lakes has been deemed exempt from the FEMA maps by way of the LOMA report. So what does that mean for our community? That report came back. It was an 8-page document that looks very much like government types of work. And that is going to be posted on the portal pronto, like maybe tomorrow. And it'll be out there for anybody to see that wants to see it. It will have its own tagline, its own tab on the portal. The other thing that will be with it is a packet of information for owners. Owners can choose, if they want to challenge their mortgage companies or make decisions on their own as to whether they want to continue to cover or have to be mandated to cover flood insurance on their own condo. So that would be for the contents on the inside. As far as the association is concerned, there's been really no more discussion. There's been no more decision-making about what we as an association want to do with this information. It has the potential of allowing us, if we should choose, to drop our flood insurance, creating a tremendous savings. But I understand there are a lot of hesitations to that. I was in a president's meeting today, And there are several more communities that have opted out of their flood insurance. So Bridgeway has opted out. They did it by way of a survey with their owners. So they surveyed their owners as to what their owners wanted to do. Lakeside has a portion of their neighborhood that is in question as far as the elevation is concerned. And so they chose not to go that route at all. Several of the Willowbrooks have all opted out of their insurance, and Crystal Cove has. Now, the other neighborhoods in Parker Lakes are actual HOA types of neighborhoods more than condo neighborhoods, like the Grove and the Enclave. And so those would be, those neighborhoods would approach it as individual homeowners. Coral Isle and Palm Isle both do not have the opportunity because they actually weigh out as being in the flooded area. I think that's unusual, but that's how that came across. I learned that this morning. So all that to say that for right now, you as owners are going to have access to these reports. They are going to be on the portal under a tab that's called Flood Zone, and you can go and read that and see if those will be of benefit to you. The board will take opportunities later to discuss if anything else needs to be done or needs to be discussed with regard to our own insurance, which is, we have time to be able to do that. So that's the update on the flood zoning. Under new business, are there any questions with regard to that, to what I just said? Or you can hold them to the end. There's no detail.
This is
Hi,
Lindsay
Lindsay.
Nicholson. I've
Yes.
got a quick question for that.
Sure.
Not sure which way you're going to go, whether we do a survey for everyone or not, but I feel like a little more information related to what the savings would come out to be if we did go the path of dropping our flood insurance. I think that's helpful information for the owners. So kind of
Yes.
option A, keep it. This is the price that stays a part of, our monthly fee or annual fee. And then option B, drop it. This is the savings at, total and then per owner. I think that information would be really helpful for everyone to understand really the significance of taking that action.
Thank you, Lindsay. I agree 100%. And there's a lot of calculations that need to take place behind the scenes before we ever can really bring it even to the surface. I think we've got to do, if you want to call them what ifs, and where does this, how is our reserves, and so when we get to that point, this will just be part of it. And we have this report, it does not expire. So we can choose if we want to even continue this evaluation into the next year after we get through further studies on reserves. So right now, it's going to be there for everybody to look at, and we will have more information when we know more information. Okay?
Cheryl, we have
Yes.
a question here. I hope one thing that will be taken into account when you do start making a decision about whether to stop, flood insurance on the buildings. There's a lot of us where our mortgages require that there is flood insurance on the building itself. We don't necessarily have to have it on our unit because we are on the second floor, but the building itself has to be insured for flood. So that might be a one thing that you need to kind of keep in your back pocket when you are making that decision, because that might affect other people that have to obtain mortgages also. Just because you're in a flood zone doesn't mean that the mortgage company is not going to require you to have that on the building. And I'm not sure that's something that an individual owner would be able to do.
So,
There's a lot of
uh,
investigation that I'm sure you guys will take care of, but it's something to keep on the back burner, because
yes.
a lot of us may have to sell if we, if we lose our mortgages, because of the fact that there's no flood insurance on the buildings.
So I will tell you that we will investigate this completely.
Yeah.
We will answer those questions
I
for
appreciate
you. So now is not the time to be anxious or worried about it.
Right. But
Okay.
it's just something to consider.
Correct. And we do know, as I said, that, and I have opportunities to talk with other presidents in other neighborhoods. And so it seems really radical what we, to even think about that. But others are facing the exact same scenarios. So we'll be in a community where we're gathering answers all together. But for us as an association, we will cross all of our T's, dot all of our I's before we bring anything back to you. And it may be that we come back with, yep, this isn't for us. So, okay. Any other questions with regard to flood zone? Next is simple. We had our gutters cleaned. We got 4 bids. There was a wide variety of the pricing by thousands and thousands of dollars. And we chose to go with a company that was actually recommended to us from Alliant called Gutter Sheriff. And they came out and they actually did it this week. So what I am in need of is a motion to go ahead and approve this invoice for payment in an official manner. So can I have a motion? The bid was for $5,500. For that bid, they cleaned the gutters, removed the debris. They flushed the downspouts. They carried away the debris at the bottom. They added hangers that were needed and did some resecuring. They said that they checked the pitch over the function of the gutter system, which I thought was good if they really did that. But anyway, and they removed debris that was hanging out up on the roof. May I have a motion to complete the invoice for Gutter Sheriff for $5,500?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Norma.
Second.
Scott seconds it. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? No. Thank you. All right. Last thing on our agenda is has to do with Summit, and Scott has been our champion communicating with Summit, with the representative there, and I'm going to let him take it from here.
Okay. So I talked to you guys a little bit about this last month, and in your email that you received on this month's meeting was included what they're offering to us. It's bulk offering number 2. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at this. It shows the products we're going to get. We're going to get 1 gig download, 1 gig upload. We're going to get, as far as the TV channels, we're going to get the Bass, Ascend, Peak, Music, and TiVo. We're going to get a cloud DVR that will hold up to 100 hours, and we're going to be able to rewind channels up to 72 hours. As far as the equipment's concerned, we're just going to get all updated equipment in each of our condos. So the lease, so currently the contract that we signed a few years ago, we still have 5 years left on that contract. If we choose to sign the new contract, it's going to go out 8 years instead of 5. So it'll end in 2033 instead of 2030. So we're actually only extending the lease 3 years. And the price is, again, if you look at it, it's $75.99 per unit plus taxes and fees with an annual escalator of 3.5%. currently we're paying per unit $91. So it's not going up this coming year. It's basically going down a few dollars once you add the extra fees. So we're going to get completely updated equipment. We're going to get new lines coming in, and this will take effect. So the contract will take effect January the 1st, but they will actually be in Grandview working with the owners, the 88 units. They'll probably start in mid-November. They think it'll take about 6 weeks, and they will be on site as they're scheduling the work. They'll come in, and for homeowners that have issues or that want as much help as possible, they will have somebody on site helping us do that. A couple of questions that have popped up. What if I have an older TV? Will it work on the new equipment? As long as you have an HDMI, yes, output, you will be able to connect to the new equipment. There's one small issue with people that have Roku TVs, and I have 2 of them in my condo. They don't play well together with the new Summit equipment. So you're going to have to get a Fire Stick for each TV for it to work really well. You can buy Fire Sticks from Amazon for like $20 a piece. So anybody that has a Roku TV, we're going to recommend that you get a Fire Stick so they play well together. So basically, that's what the proposal is. I shared this with all the board members a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, got their input. So with that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we agree to sign this new contract to have the new equipment come in later in the year. And so I guess we should take questions on that now, Cheryl.
Yes, that'll be great.
On it, yep.
Yes. I think Lindsay, did you have a question, Lindsay? Do you want to speak?
Yeah, I just typed it in there. Just wondering, I want to just clarify, Scott, you mentioned the current Summit pricing that's being proposed is slightly lower than what we're currently paying. Is that correct? I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
That's correct.
And then it'll increase annually going forward, but it's not a big change from where we were to where we are.
So our current contract, they can raise our prices 3% annually, up to 3%. With this new contract, it'll be 3.5%. They can raise them up to 3.5% annually.
Okay. Historically, do they raise it every year?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Just a little more detail. When we were negotiating packages, I will call them, we being every association had some roundtable discussions with Summit simultaneously as we pushed out to them what our concerns were in the way of service, equipment, pixelating, lots of concerns were mentioned. And I felt like they were heard because they addressed them. We brought up a lot of things, and their first packages that they pushed out were for 10-year contract modifications and 4% increase. And every association in Parker Lakes pushed back and said, no way. So they agreed to come down to an 8-year extension of our current contract, and they reduced the annual increase 3.5%, or reduced it to 3.5%. So, right, that is going to be less than what we're paying now, and by about $3 a unit a month. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot. I sound like I'm advertising, but I've been in these meetings so many times, but they in the different packages that they offered us, some of them were bare bones. And what is coming into our units now is kind of a bare bones plus a few, and then they've dropped a bunch of channels. And so I think that this is going to give us absolutely better selection of service. And then because we have new equipment, it should be better service. So
pixelating will stop. I mean, I know a lot of us have had issues with our TVs pixelating, and that'll all stop with the new equipment.
The technology is different.
Much
So
better.
that's why it'll quit.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, any other questions from the gallery here about Summit before we move forward with the motions? Any other questions about that?
Carol,
Okay.
Jeff Miller.
Yes, Jeff.
Um, is there going to be any type of charge associated with the conversion? I know when Tina and I had them come in and book our service, they charged us $95 for coming in and connecting up.
There'll be no additional charges for the connections.
Thank you.
They charged you $95 to come in.
Yes. And I called them on it and said, look, this is all included with our HOA. And they said, well, we're sorry. That's not included, so you have to pay that.
Did you go down to the Summit office and get your equipment, or did they bring everything to you?
They in and hooked it up. We called them, scheduled the appointment. They came out, hooked it all up, and then we got the bill.
If Jeff, I'm going to try to investigate that. I think we have a representative that I can email about that.
Okay.
Because honestly, this is the first time I have heard that there's been that, and we've had a lot of people to buy and sell.
Sure. We were kind of, we didn't know, and I called them and talked to somebody, I think in their, was it Orlando offices or wherever they're at.
Right.
And they just indicated, well, that was the cost of having their technician come out and do the setup, and that we owe them that money. So Cheryl, if you need other information on that, by all means, reach out to Tina or I.
Okay.
Cheryl, if you want me to reach out to Bridget, I can. I mean, it's up to you, but I can
Yes,
take that.
that would be great. Or Teresa. The other person was
Yeah.
Teresa. So,
another contact
Jeff, I
for you
appreciate.
guys.
Okay. If you would
What did you
just
say?
send it to me.
Yep.
Jeff, I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yes.
Okay.
What precipitated the question, Cheryl, is I thought if they're going to charge for someone coming out to just set up your service, or are they going to charge us to do the connections for the new contract with the new equipment?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a no. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions about Summit? Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a motion, or did you call?
Yes, I made the motion. Yes.
Okay.
To accept the latest proposal from Summit to accept the bulk offering number 2, which will take us to an 8-year contract through 2033.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dee. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No. Okay, thank you. We have an opportunity to post questions. If you have questions, you can turn your microphone off and speak, and we'll take your questions. Great attendance today. We appreciate you all being here. It's very encouraging. No questions? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, how are you?
All right.
Um,
I can't see you. I can hear you.
That's correct. So, yeah, the gutter cleaning, just to let you know that I was in the unit when they were on the roof. I actually heard the tiles cracking as they stomped all over them. They did roof damage. So you've agreed to pay for these guys for cleaning the gutters, and they did roof damage. So you should know that. I know you have pictures of them walking around the roofs. I also heard them using a leaf blower to clean out the gutters. There was no water. So I don't know what you agreed in your contract with them, but my observations were not what you said during your piece about them. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I would request that since we've now had the Loma redesignation of our floodplains, that you check with our insurance company to make sure we are still covered for the same amount of flood damage, that our deductibles are the same, and that I'm making a request you do not remove it for the HOA. So
Okay.
those are my comments. Oh, also, videoing of these meetings. Actually, there's a spot in the Florida law statute, section 720.306. Any homeowner has the right to record during one of these meetings. In a previous meeting, I asked if we could have a copy of the Zoom meeting that we're having, say today, posted to homeowners that are unable to make the meetings. Otherwise, they need to wait a month to see what the meeting minutes are, and frequently those minutes do not reflect everything that was said. So basically, I was told you need everyone's permission, which makes no sense since the master board does provide this service, and there are many, many more participants on those meetings. So that's another request, that we do have, at least for 30 days, for the homeowners, a recording of every board of directors meeting.
Can I, Leslie,
Yes,
your questions about the Loma and
Yes.
what you want us to bring to the insurance agent, if you could send your questions in writing to the board
yes.
Gmail, and then that way I know exactly what you're asking, and I will call private client and get those issues answered for you.
Okay, thank you, Dee.
Sure.
I have a question for Leslie.
Sure.
How do you know there was damage done to the roof?
I heard the tiles cracking. I heard crunching.
I mean, did you see any tiles falling or pieces or?
They're probably in the gutters, David. I actually heard crunch, crunch, crunch. This guy walked like he was an elephant.
Yeah, I was there when he was up there, but I didn't think you'd be doing any damage.
Yeah,
I
I
did.
think I can safely say we already know from the roof report that you guys have seen, because you're on the board, that there was roof damage from Ian. The tiles are compromised. I know that. The extent of it, of course, I have not seen the report, so I can't attest to that. But if you now have somebody walking on tiles that are previously damaged, you're going to damage them further. And I know that most of the time, gutter cleaning people and companies don't need to get on the roofs. There's no reason to get on a roof, especially a tile roof. So that to me is concerning. Did you, as a board, ask the company if they were going to walk on the roofs to do their job?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
let me address that with you if
Thank
I
you,
could.
Cheryl.
So that was a concern going in when we discussed it with all the bids. And one company said, yes, absolutely, we're going to walk on the roof. And this particular company said, no, they weren't going to walk on the roof unless there was absolutely a need. And so because of that, that was the reason that we chose this company. As soon as Dee called me, literally, and told me that they were up there, they were walking on the roof, I called the owner and spoke with them. And I was left with the impression that they were going to call them off so that they wouldn't be up there walking. So I did not find out until today that they did not stop. I thought that they had stopped because that was what we asked them to do. So I think, how can you quantify what damage was done? I don't know how we could ever do that. I certainly will be glad to phone them again about the service that they provided. And we, at this point, just won't call them back. I don't know how else to handle this at this moment. Unless we have Ryan come back and do an inspection for us, he would be able to tell us if he sees anything that looks new and different, because he has literally been on all of our roofs.
That's correct, Cheryl. So I was going to suggest that as well, since Ryan has been our go-to guy for this. He could easily just come up and take a quick look and he'll know. He's been on top of our building already several times. He'll know if there's more damage done.
Okay.
And if there is, then I think, at least if I was still on the board, I would be questioning whether or not we're actually paying these guys their full amount if they've done damage.
Okay. Thank you for your concerns. I do appreciate that, and they are heard. And I will make that phone call to Ryan and ask him to come check. He's coming out for some other things as well, so he'll be in the neighborhood. All right. Anything else?
Just an idea. Could you reach out to the gutter cleaners and give them an opportunity to revise their invoice to reflect the fact that they continued to be on the roofs before having to pay Ryan extra, right? Spending additional time and money going down that path. Can we reach out to the gutter cleaners and see if they're willing to address it initially? Phone call might not hurt.
Okay.
I think we need to see what damage is up there before we do that.
Say that again.
I think we need to have Ryan see what damage is actually up there, if there is any, before we do that.
Right.
We have proof that there was some damage.
Okay.
I guess I would challenge that, Scott, and why do we need proof of damage if we chose them based on the fact that they weren't going to be on the roof? As soon as we found out that they were, we told them not to, and they continued. I don't think it's even necessarily a matter of damage or not. It's they didn't provide the service that we contracted them to provide.
Yeah, we didn't tell them they couldn't get on the roof. We said they could only if they absolutely needed to get on the roof. So
Understood.
Yes, but running from one side to the other, the roof, the entire roof, that seems unwarranted. That doesn't seem to fit what they.
you saw him physically running?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. They were not delicately walking. He pounded across the roof and I heard crunch, crunch, crunch.
Okay. Well, that's why we need to see if there's damage up there.
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl, maybe you could just call them and go over our concerns with them?
I will.
Okay. And then just let everybody know, what the outcome is.
Okay.
I mean, we don't really know. Our roofs are damaged anyway. We really, we don't know. And, I want to be as fair as possible to them and especially to the association.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Cheryl, this is Pam Nance. I've got a question concerning all of this. We've had rain all day yesterday and also Sunday night. Has anybody reported any problems?
No.
Okay.
I will add too that Norma has put on her boots and her umbrella and her slicker and has gone around and has been watching the water coming down the downspouts, especially those where we disconnected them from their underground piping. And so to make sure that the water was indeed running away from the buildings. And so I appreciate what she's been doing there. So
thank you, Norma.
Several places she had a shovel and just had to give a little bit of boost so the water would go ahead and move towards the lakes. So, okay. Anybody else? Okay. So the time is 3:55. We thank you for attending.
Actually, Cheryl, sorry to be so late. This is Laura in 807.
Okay.
Yeah. Going back to the bees just momentarily, Shane and I were sitting here the other night and noticed some going into the overhang right on the one end of our lanai. Do you want me to email the board or put it in as a work order since you're having
Yes,
somebody
please.
come in? Okay, all right.
Yes, please.
Which
Yeah.
would you prefer, a work order in Vanica or just an email to the board?
Let's put it in as a work order to Vanica.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Okay. Going, gone. Let's adjourn the meeting. Call for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you, David. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dee. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And no opposed? All right. So we've adjourned the meeting at 3:56.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Have a good summer.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
right now, our next meeting is scheduled right now for June the 10th. However, unless there is a need for business, we may not meet. So, but you'll just stay tuned. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.